Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 177 of a year of change. Today we're going to talk about something that we probably should have talked about 4 or 5 months ago. It's a topic that's never really come up. We've probably touched on it a little bit, but something that I've never really thought was a viable option for me. And I mean, some of you may already be doing it. Some of you may thought about doing it. It's just the meal planning itself. Now I know that with MyFitnessPal that we use a little bit of planning ahead when we're doing that, because as I'm counting my calories throughout the day, generally I can look at it and say, okay, I have 700 calories left for the day. So I should be able to figure something out for supper or dinner or whatever you want to call it, within that calorie range. And it should be good. Aside from yesterday, I had 700 and some calories left for the day and completely misjudged the calorie content of my last meal for the day, and went over. Not by a lot, well, 200 or 300 calories, which is still quite a bit. It's the same as, another bowl of cereal. But at that stage, I would put everything in after I ate it instead of before, which is what I really should be doing. And I actually have gone over, and I thought, I'm too tired to do my treadmill. So unfortunately, I went over. First time I've gone over in a very, very, very long time. Strangely enough, though, those days where... Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand. The meal planning thing is not anything that I've ever actually looked at with any viability, just because I don't often plan out what I'm going to be eating in general anyway. I never really know until I'm about to sit down and start preparing a meal what I'm in the mood for. And I think that's one of the main things that has prevented me from actually starting this. I'm all over the place now. Okay. So when I think ahead and okay, I'm going to plan out all my meals for 3 or 4 days ahead of time. The first thing that comes to mind, I mean, food is a big part of what made us the way we are, and it's still a huge part of our life. Just getting to that stage where we react to it differently and think about it differently, that's our main goal for this year. But it's still very in the forefront. So part of being able to maintain what we've been doing is making sure that it's something that we enjoy doing, so that we'll stick with it. For the same reason why not all of us are, myself included, are saying, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to work out 4 hours a day at the gym, because we know we aren't going to stick with it. Or the same way that we went, I'm going to go vegan. I'm not going to stick with it. I know I'm not. And the meal planning is sort of the same way, because I think the first thing I think of is if I'm planning all my meals out, let's say I have everything mapped out, everything's organized for the entire week, I'm looking ahead 3 or 4 days and going, what if I don't feel like having that for lunch? Like, do I get to that point and do I just discard it and get something else and then save that for another day, or do I have to eat that? And if you're really not in the mood for it, you're just going to either sit there and just grumble and moan about it when you're eating it, or you're going to set it aside and have something different, and then that's going to throw the whole thing off. So what's the point of starting? So there's a whole slew of different things that I look at and I think, I don't think it's for me. I don't think it's something that I would be able to do. There's some of you that are out there that are probably doing it now, that you've been planning all your stuff out and it's working for you. And if it does, then bravo, because that's been the main thing that we've been doing throughout this whole thing, is that if you find something that works for you, even if it doesn't work for someone else, then go for it. That's why we share the different channels and different opinions from people. Because there are going to be some things that I'm doing that are not going to work for you. There are going to be some things that you're doing that are not going to work for me. And just being able to share back and forth that way and find something that does work for you, that's our main goal. So whether it's planning your stuff out, whether it's calorie counting, whether it's specific diet that you're going to be changing over to, whatever it is, then go for it. But with the meal planning thing, it just seems like I can go to a restaurant with, I don't often go to restaurants, but when I do, my friends don't like it, because it could be a restaurant I've been to 10 times. I'll know what they have there. even if I've ordered the same thing almost every single time, um, I can go there and I can still sit for an hour with the menu, even if it's only 2 pages, and just go, I don't know what I want. Very indecisive when it comes to stuff like that. And it drives them nuts because they all know that I'm probably going to end up ordering the same thing I order every time. And generally at a restaurant, it's probably going to be some fish thing. So when I'm thinking and looking at this and going, all right, do I want to plan out my meals? Not even just actually preparing them. There are some that you can do just planning and say, okay, well, on Tuesday, I'm going to have this for lunch. Great. Then that's what you're going to have. You can map everything out. It should be fine. MyFitnessPal actually allows you to put things in ahead of time for meals. Like you can put things in a few days ahead of time. So, I mean, technically you can use it for that as well. I never have. But there are some actually that will go and prepare the meals ahead of time. Like they'll say, okay, well, I'm going to put in, this much steak with this amount of potatoes and then some carrots and stuff. And then they set them all aside. They have all of their meals prepared for the week so that when they do finally go and get them, they just microwave it for a few minutes and it's ready. Again, if that's something that is going to work for you, where you have things mapped out, if that structure is going to work, by all means, do it. And when I'm looking at it, I think that structure would work. I mean, it would be good to have because I know that the structure like that, I like having that just day to day with everything. I want to know what's going on ahead of time. I need to be prepared and everything else. But when it comes to food, I never know what I want until I'm actually ready to start preparing the meal. So I don't really, you run the risk as well of wasting food. If you prepared it, and then you go, I don't want that, and then you set it aside and you postpone, and eventually when you do take it out of the freezer, it's ruined. There is that risk as well, but it's sort of that sounds more of an excuse than a risk. For me, it's just a matter of I don't want to get to somewhere and say, okay, well, this is what I'm having for lunch, and then not feel like having it. Because I don't want to sit there and just resent having to eat whatever it is. Because I know at that stage, then you're not going to stick with it. You're going to sort of say, well, I'll put this aside this one time, I'll have something else. In which case, you haven't prepared for it properly, which sort of throws everything else off. And you do run the risk of going over. And then, of course, once you stop doing one thing, it's very easy to say, well, I'm doing okay with that. I can probably stop doing this and I can stop doing that and, get back to our old habits. And that's the main thing that we want to avoid. So when I was doing this, I was trying to find, ideally, I was going to try to find some recommendations. For those of you out there that are already doing it, you probably already have a program that you're working with or an app or something like that. And it's one of those things I've never actually looked into because it's never anything that I was going to entertain. Or the idea. I was never going to entertain the idea of actually doing meal planning. But when I started going through and I started thinking, well, I should probably grab like 4 or 5 of them and put a link somewhere and say, well, here are some options that you can look at if you want to start doing your meal planning and stuff like that. And almost every single one of them costs money. It's really weird. And I understand it's an app that, it provides a service. If you want a service, you can pay for it. But a lot of them cost money. I sound really cheap when I say that, but the main thing that I wanted to do throughout this entire thing was to have it so that, we don't have those excuses anymore, where we can look at it and say, oh, well, yeah, but I'm not paying. Some of them it's a subscription. It's like I'm not paying $7 a month to go, yes, I'm having chicken in 4 days, which doesn't make sense to me to begin with. Overall, we haven't had to spend anything, and I want to keep it that way because that's one of those it's an excuse that we can't use for not being able to do it. Saying, oh, well, it's, I have to buy this and this and this and this and this, because it does add up. And then you just say, no, these are free. So when I was going through, though, I did find one that seems to be good. It had very positive reviews. You can get it on the App Store. You can get it on Google Play. So it's available for everything. And it's free, which is even better. So I haven't actually downloaded it myself because it's not one of those things I'm going to be using, but I will put a link in the description below so that you can go in, you can take a look at it, and you can download it for your, I assume, they have their own website, so I'm assuming that you can do it on the website as well. It's called Pepper Plate, and it seems to be the one that is going to give you the most for free, which is very nice. The free part is always good. don't complain about the ads. You're going to be able to see ads on there. But just like MyFitnessPal, it's like, it's free. I'll deal with the ads. I think the main thing with that is that you can go through, you can create your own meals, you can put those in there. Other people have put in something similar, so you can grab those. It's sort of like the MyFitnessPal, but for full meals. And apparently you can plan weeks in advance if you need to. So, bravo. So if it's something that you want to look at and say, well, maybe I need a little bit more structure, that I'm not exactly following through with everything, then certainly you can go up, you can take a look at it that way. I'm also going to put down in the description, it's actually a blog on MyFitnessPal, and it was put out there by someone who had they are a meal planner, and it's sort of like a beginner's guide if you're going to start. It came out weird. Eyeball is itchy. There we go. It's okay. Probably a bug. It's just sort of a beginner's guide to meal planning. So you're not just diving in and saying, okay, well, you need to do this for the next 6 weeks, and then you have to do this and this and this. It's going to give you, it's going to give you it's going to ease you into it. Plus, it's from MyFitnessPal, so neat. It's another user that's in there. So you can go in, you can take a look at those as well. As I say, it's not something that I would end up doing just because I know I would get to a certain point, probably even a day ahead of time. I'd say, what if I don't want that? Then I'm sort of stuck where I am. Being able to map my calories out and things like that and if I plan it properly, then I'm usually okay. But what happened yesterday was just a matter of me not doing the math and making everything and then taking into account stuff and going, oh, I forgot to add that and that and that. Oops. And not paying attention. So, which is why I went over. But it's the first time I've gone over in a very long time. And when I'm looking at that, going back 6 months, it's not the same as a cheat day. I haven't really had a day where I've planned out and said, okay, I'm gonna eat what I want. I'm gonna have 6 burritos and 3 plates of nachos and an entire pizza and then cake and more cake and more cake. I haven't had a cheat day in a very, very long time, and it's not one of those things that I think, oh, I'm gonna plan this out and I'm gonna have a cheat day and eat what I want. In general, I'm eating what I want. It's just the quantity is much, much smaller. So, and I found that going over by 200 or 300 calories, although it's quite a bit, compared to how I would go over 6 months ago, there's a vast difference there. I could easily put in 5,000 or 6,000 calories in the run of a day 6 months ago. Sounds like a lot, and it is. And I'm not exaggerating. There have been times that I would like to find. I should probably figure out how much that is. Getting an entire plate of nachos and then putting sauce on it and sour cream and cheese and having sometimes 3 plates in one sitting of like a 12-inch plate filled and eating it almost like a pound of cheese on top of it. So it still sounds great, but. I know that even now I would never get through it. I would be sick long before I could finish that off, because even 6 months ago at my heaviest, when I would eat something like that, I could eat to the point of just fill myself to capacity, and then an hour later, I think I shall have 3 burritos and just keep eating like that all day. But having a cheat day now is sort of those are the moments when I think I'm gonna still count everything out, but those are the days that I have something sugary, like the gummies or something like that. Those are my cheat days now, oddly enough, because anytime that I think, well, I want to have one day where I don't worry about it, I don't have to track anything. I still want to track it, and then that inevitably gets me to a point where I'm like, I don't want to go over. I really don't want to go over, so I adjust accordingly. The only time that I probably will, again, is if I'm going out with friends, because after 2 drinks, then you're just like, I'm over, because it's such a high calorie count. But aside from that, aside from if I do the math properly, if I had logged it in before I ate it, then I could adjust it and say, I should probably only eat half of this, and that'll keep me going. But obviously not. I just miscalculated, didn't do it properly, and it bugs me now because it's the first time I've gone over in a very, very long time. So, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. All I need to do is just go, good enough, I went over. So the rest of the week, I just don't go over. Don't have to make up for it. Don't have to say, oh, well, today I'm going to only eat 12 calories. No, it's fine. Just keep on how I'm going. I should be okay. Anyway, I went off on a tangent that way. But I guess the main thing I'm still working on, though, is looking at portion sizes. Because I'm just still I'm oddly enough, I'm still trying to work on that, just judging it with my eyes. I'm much better now that if I'm getting something, I can say, okay, like things I'm familiar with, I can say I know how much is in that. I have one bowl of this, so I know what to prepare, things like that. But I find that even now when I'm looking at it going, this is a proper portion size, and everything is measured out and things are good, that at sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's still a little too much. And so I'm still leaving some in there, which is a good thing because it means my stomach is shrunk to what it was, if that even happens. Or I'm just not accustomed to it, or that, I don't know, whatever the reason is. I don't have the ability, I don't think, to eat 2 pizzas in a single sitting anymore. I'm not exaggerating. Or, 3 and 4 big burritos, or 3 plates of nachos, or I was going to say something, an entire bag of Oreos. There we go. Which we've all done. Well, not all of us, but for those of us that have, it's almost a source of pride. It's embarrassing, but it's at the same point you go, no, I've done an entire bag. I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be able to even do that now. I could. I mean, obviously, I would get extremely sick from it because everybody could do it. But it's one of those things that just because we've been in that sort of that mode for so long that it's not my regular eating habits anymore, which is nice. Anyway, I'm going way off topic. I'm sorry. We'll get back to the meal planning thing. I'm going to put a link in the description below for pepper plates. You can take a look at it. I mean, it may not be the one that you want to pick. You can certainly go and do a quick review and try to find another app that you think is going to work a little bit better for you. But for me, if I was going to do it, this is probably the one that I would use just because it seems to be the one that gives you the most bang for your buck, which is 0 because it's free. But you know what I mean? It just seems to be one that would fit in well with what, if I was going to do it. So I would probably end up using that one. You might have another one. If for those of you that are actually already doing it, if you have an app that you're using or a website and you find that that's the one that's working really well for you, let us know in the comments as well, because any little bit of information is going to help. It's part of the reason why we're doing this, so that what works for you, it's probably going to work for some other people as well. Maybe not for everyone, but there's going to be someone that's going to be able to get something out of it. So I'll put a link in the description below. I'll also put a link down there for the blog that was put up there, just the sort of beginner's guide to meal planning, just in case you want to try it out. Because with me, I just think it's sort of one of those things that, okay, well, number one, need to buy a whole lot of either baggies or Tupperware or something, those little Ziploc things, so that I can put everything in the freezer. So aside from that, I really don't know what the plan is, how to do it properly, how to shop for it properly, and everything else. And they really do sort of go step by step, and they'll walk you through everything. So a little bit of helpful information there. I know it's a little bit late. We're sort of at the halfway point to start doing this, but you never know. If it's something that you find is, that you think might be helpful. If you think it might be helpful for you, starting things off, even though we're 6 months in, starting something new, if it's going to continue to help you, then you might as well. Can't hurt to try. For me, it's just one of those things that, because I know I'm so indecisive, I know that I won't stick to it. So I have my stuff that I'm sticking to, and it seems to be working slowly but surely, very slowly but surely, then I'm going to stick with what I have. But anyway, in the meantime, though, I'm going to leave this here. So otherwise, I'm going to repeat myself more and more and more. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.